So I'm sure by now you've probably seen that there was additional gameplay and footage revealed of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League the other day at the Game Awards. This is not a super long, in-depth look at the game. This is, again, basically a teaser, but we do actually see some gameplay happening this time around. So I have a few things to talk about with this. It's mainly going to be my opinions on what's going on in this trailer and kind of what I think about this game so far. Keep in mind, the game's not out. My opinions are based off of just the track record of this studio along with the stories they've told so far and the information that's been revealed to us thus far about the game, okay? So, if there's things I don't like, that is subject to change when the game comes out. If there's things I do like, the ball is subject to possibly be dropped and I might have a different opinion when the game comes out. It's always worth pointing out I'm prejudging something that doesn't exist yet. But this trailer, to me, it was kind of underwhelming. I think I'm in the minority in this department. I mean, it starts out obviously with Captain Boomerang. I thought he was going to be announcing his OnlyFans, but instead he was actually provoking Flash into drawing him out so that the Suicide Squad could fight him. And we do get to hear Amanda Waller telling them to kill the Flash. They have to actually attempt to kill him because he is under the control of Brainiac. I don't really understand why the focus of this game is not freeing the Justice League and is killing them. And I have mixed feelings already on this game. I said it on Twitter, I don't know what would be more narratively unsatisfying to me. You introduce a team of the Suicide Squad with only really one of them having a history in this universe, Harley, in the Arkham universe, and none of them are able to kill a single League member, or you go through the entire game and you actually kill a League member who was never shown before in this universe before this game. Which kind of leads me to the whole thing of, I don't know why this is how they're introducing the Justice League. I think to me that's the biggest issue I have with this game. I don't want to seem like a hypocrite here because I know that I have been excited in the past about this game and I still want it to be good and I'm still excited to play it because like the free flow movement, even some of the shooting, I think it looks good. The way you move around, it does, granted, this might change, it does remind me of an Insomniac game where you're kind of just launching around and moving. You can swing from stuff if you're certain characters, like Harley is very nimble and agile and can move around. Captain Boomerang almost has speedster-like abilities, the way he moves. You know, it's interesting the way that they did this, and I hope that the gameplay is really good and the narrative is satisfying, but this is a universe that already existed, right? So with all the gameplay being shown, it looks fun to me, but I guess I have a couple of questions. Yes, the movement system looks cool, being able to teleport and boost around a little bit as Captain Boomerang, having the more, strength-based movement and combat as Shark. All of these things are cool to me, but I do wonder how this fits. You know, the further we get, the more it feels like to me this was never meant to be the continuation of the Arkham timeline. I am not the arbiter of this timeline. I don't own it. In fact, I've said a few times, as much as I love it, I sometimes wish I was less associated with it because I feel like a lot of people don't care about anything else I talk about. But this is something I really love. This is something that has a huge place in my heart, and it's very, very meaningful to me. And to see things like Superman and Flash introduced for the first time here after being teased at in previous Arkham games, but they're not playable and you're just trying to take them out, I guess to me, the further we get along towards this game, the less that's super compelling to me. I'm more here to play as these characters. I really wish that we had done different, reveals for certain characters. There is one thing hanging out in the background that I do find very interesting, and they kind of zoom in on it and make a point out of showing it in a way, so I don't even think it's meant to be hidden anymore. But that is Bat Tech, which I think is interesting how that will play into the series, because you do have Harley actually at one point gliding off of this Bat Tech glider and moving on, and we did see a flash of the Batmobile in a previous trailer for this game. So because of that, some questions I'm having here are, who is Batman, right? You know, obviously this takes place, I would say very obviously after Arkham Knight, because I would think it would come up at some point that Bruce was in the League, or it would come up at some point that, any of these other people existed outside of a couple of Easter eggs in the franchise before this. If this took place earlier on, like they said, this is the continuation of the Arkham timeline. So I guess my biggest concerns with this game are not necessarily the gameplay. I don't think I've ever played something made by Rocksteady that I can think of where I didn't like the gameplay. I just can't think of anything. They're really good at it, and I really like their storytelling too. So in the confines of telling a story about the Suicide Squad and providing good gameplay for people in a superhero-esque world, I guess anti-hero, those things are cool. But a lot of the continuity stuff does make me feel like this is forced in. Like, for example, why couldn't we get that Batman Beyond, Arkham game to continue his story? Why are we now seeing him, at least in some way, or his tech, appearing later in the timeline, but in this? To me, that's very narratively uninteresting and unsatisfying. Why are we seeing Superman show up for the first time? Something that was alluded to earlier on in the Arkham timeline and people were hyped for, but he shows up as a villain. I guess these are, to be fair, criticisms I should have had earlier on, but the more footage I see of it, the less that hype kind of sustains my opinion on this game, and the more I'm just kind of concerned about things like that. Even Harley. I was talking to my wife, Jill, and she pointed out, Harley is very, very, very reliant on the Joker in this timeline. Extremely. She never really goes through a character development thing where she breaks away from Joker and really becomes her own person. Even in Arkham Knight, she's still pining after Joker despite him being dead, right? So a character like that, even one that we know that's established and done really well in this timeline already that we like, how does that character fit in here? I guess I just don't really know. And I'm kind of wondering if a lot of the story has progressed off screen, which to me is usually lazy when it comes to writing and usually not done that well. I think when you have to tell and not show in terms of just being like, oh, well, over the course of the years, Harley got better, and also Batman, now that he's working with the League, his identity doesn't matter, or it's his son, or whatever. If you have to do that kind of stuff to provide backstory and everything, and you have to do a lot of it, I don't really know why we're putting this in this timeline. It's the same thing to me with, obviously, Deadshot. I don't really care that they changed his race. I know some people were super mad about that, like, Deadshot's black now. I don't really care. It doesn't matter to me, but I think the writing retcon is lazy in terms of no, that wasn't the real Deadshot, and Batman, no one else knew that. It was a fake Deadshot, and the real Deadshot was black, and he shot him. It's like, okay, well, why don't you just say, we changed his race to make him look like Will Smith and the more popular interpretation of that character now for brand recognition? That's more straightforward and easy, right? It seems like a lot of the stuff, when you break it down and look at it ahead of this game coming out, doesn't fit where we're going. It's weird to me because Gotham Knights almost seems like it would have been the continuation of the Arkham timeline. With Nightfall Protocol and Batman kind of disappearing for a while, and some of his proteges having to step in and fill that role, but that's its own thing. And it seems like Suicide Squad, if it was going to be in this timeline, would have taken place way back when it was teased after Origins, right? With these characters, including Deathstroke. But that's not the case either. So the further we get into the marketing of this game, the more I'm wondering, why does it take place where it does, in the continuity it does? Is this gameplay going to sustain this game? Because to me, the narrative is already coming off unfulfilling in terms of why it is what it is. Maybe I used up all my positivity on trying to be hopeful for Marvel's Spider-Man being in the Marvel's Avengers game and that coming off fairly mediocre to me. But I just don't really know what to think. Yes, the characters are charming. Yes, I want the game to be good. And yes, I will be buying and playing this game. That's the thing at the end of the day. I know not everyone watches to the end of the videos, but if you want games that are not just Batman, which a lot of us do, a lot of us want Superman. And I'm saying games done well, okay? Not just shit games like the Green Lantern movie game. But you want a good Green Lantern game or a good Flash game or a good Superman game. Games like this, Gotham Knights and Wonder Woman, have to be successful, okay? And that's kind of the sucky thing about it to me, is I don't want to go in so hard on these games when they do something that I disagree with, where I'm I don't know, turning people off to them. I don't consider myself a marketer for these companies, but at the end of the day, this is a mutually beneficial agreement. It always has been when it comes to videos on YouTube. You know, it's something where you are talking about things that people want you to talk about in your audience, that these companies also do benefit from in some ways by getting recognition and people seeing it and getting interested in that game. And then it's a mutual cycle. And when something's bad, you say it's bad, and then people should improve instead of throwing a tizzy fit, and then fans should get a better thing, right? But I don't want Suicide Squad to be unsuccessful. I don't want Wonder Woman, even if it had some problems, to be unsuccessful. And I don't want Gotham Knights to tank. And the reason for that is because as much as I wanted them to finish the Batman Arkham story with that version of the character and not just jump ahead, I also have always wanted DC to branch out and do stories about other characters in gaming. They're able to do it in their movies. We saw it in the DC animated movie universe. They were able to go in on Constantine and Wonder Woman and Superman and give them movies and stories, right? We saw it in the old DCAU with Justice League, Superman the Animated Series, and others. They were able to do creative things. So I really hope that I'm wrong about the inconsistencies. I would love for this game to come out, be the best thing I've ever played, and for me to eat my words on my concerns. I'm not prideful about it. I want good games at the end of the day. For you guys, for me, you know, when superhero games are announced, it's like Christmas, okay? I'm having a fun time. I want to go in and enjoy it. But I just have a lot of doubts with everything that we've seen so far that I want addressed and I hope are not valid. I hope that they are concerns that are eventually proven to be wrong. That's what I want. If you guys are interested in my Batman Arkham content, I actually am doing a couple of big projects right now of how I personally would have continued the Batman Arkham timeline. There's a few things. It'll probably almost be a trilogy of videos, and here's why. I have my own two. I have two game pitches that, as a fan, I would love to see that I'm definitely going to be talking about and breaking down in detail. And then also, again, you know, this is fan fiction. This is me being a huge fan of Batman. I also have a friend, Greg, over on Twitter with some other dudes who are really cool. They're classy guys. They actually went through and rewrote the entire script for Batman Arkham Origins in detail. They did a ton of work on it. And that's something in the near future that I'm going to be covering as well, because I kind of want to go over their ideas for what they wanted to see out of that game, since it does have a very, I would say, I don't want to say bipolar response. That's not the right word, but I guess polarizing response in the community in terms of what people think about it. So we are going to be covering these things over the next few weeks. I'm very excited to be doing that. And let me know what you think in the comments down below about this video, how you would have continued. Do you think this should be in that timeline? What are your thoughts? Are you excited for a superhero action shooter game? I don't know. You know, I don't know how the superhero community feels about shooters. I'm the guy who will one moment be playing Dark Souls, then I might switch over to Call of Duty for a few matches, and then I'm playing Shadow of Mordor. But a lot of people, they have their niche. So what do you like? Are you interested in this? I'm interested to hear your thoughts down below. Please be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this. Subscribe for more content. That does help me out a lot. This channel has struggled off and on, and so has our secondary channel, Degenerate Plays, where we love to hang out with you and play a lot of games. So I hope to see you over there too. Links are in the description down below. And last but not least, we do have a wonderful Discord server where all kinds of people get together and talk about stuff. Have a fun time hanging out. So I hope to see you there. Have a fantastic day. And as always, everyone, stay shway.